time to shake the dust off and begin.
Hey everybody, welcome to Shift Your Story. It's your host, Lucy Price. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about the top 3 mistakes I see people make when you start to feel someone in your life pull away from you. Something that I've definitely struggled with in my life is the fear of abandonment, that relationship anxiety of, are they going to leave me? Are they going to pull away? Are they going to stop talking to me, stop giving me attention? And whenever I used to feel that in my life, that sensation that someone is pulling away from me, I absolutely freaked out. And the first mistake that I see people make, and I very much used to do, was cling to that person even more, is to start like gripping. And it's this scarcity mindset. It's just this fear of losing someone's favor. And it's easy to start clinging. It's easy to start fighting harder to get their attention, maintain their attention. I know in my life, this looked like checking my phone multiple times to see if they messaged me back, to see if they had read the message, trying to make plans over and over again to get their time, to get their attention. And I used to feel so tense. I used to feel so tense in my body. And now when I work with clients around the same kind of anxieties, the same kind of fears, that is one of the top things that people tell me, is that they feel tense. They feel like they're trying to grip. They feel like they're checking their phone all the time. They're worried all the time. They're thinking about this person all the time. And when I say that, I mean like hours. Like it's taking time out of their workday. It's taking enjoyment out of the experiences that they're having with their friends or with their family, and they can't focus. And so the instinct whenever you feel something slip away is to grip harder, but it also can feel very constraining. I mean, the way that I like to think about it is kind of like literally it's someone's grip on your arm. After a while, it starts to hurt. After a while, you start feeling like you really need to release that grip. Like you want to push that person away from you because it feels overwhelming. It feels like too much. And while it's a natural instinct to grip when you feel like you're losing something, it's also a natural instinct to want to pull away when you feel like someone is holding too hard onto you. And what I see for people is that when they are gripping, it often leads to more anxiety and more fear coming up in the body. So what can you do instead? What can you do to counteract this and not grip so much? Instead of thinking about whether they still like you, start thinking about whether they are even the right fit for you. Like, I know this sounds kind of counterintuitive because you really like this person, you really want to be around this person, but putting yourself back in the position of, is this person a good fit for me? Is this someone I want to be with? Doing those types of things can help to ease the anxiety because it's putting you back into the decision making. It's putting you back into a place of power of really discerning, okay, is this person for me? Is this relationship for me? Is this how I want to feel? And then the follow-up into that is, how do you want to feel? And ask yourself that question. Do you want to feel at peace? Do you want to feel secure? Do you want to feel at ease? Do you want to feel happy? Do you want to feel joy? But what do you want to feel? And what things outside of that person can help elicit that feeling within you? What things bring you peace? What activities bring you peace? What can you help yourself do to get you into the state that you want to feel, to get you into that emotion, to get you into that place? But stop relying on someone else to get you to that feeling, because you can get yourself into that feeling by yourself, by your actions, by your choices, and by your behavior. But the first thing is put yourself back into that decision-making seat. Really think about whether they are a right fit for you, whether they are someone you want to be with, and so on and so forth. And then ask yourself, like, how do I want to feel? What do I want to feel in this moment? And what activities, what decisions can I make? What things can help me to feel that particular way? Now, I wanted to really bring in the first element, the decision-making element, because as humans, when something feels more scarce or more rare, like when someone's attention feels more rare, we can start to see that as being more valuable. And the thing is, it's not. The thing is, it's not more valuable. Like someone's attention, whether they give it to you or not, is not inherently more valuable. It's just the meaning you attach to it. And so you have to decide if someone is feeling colder towards you, if someone is behaving differently towards you, why are you seeing it as more valuable? If you are, like, why are you seeing it as more valuable? And I think Matthew Hussey really said this best, but someone else's uncertainty about you is not an indication of your lack of value. Oftentimes, we reach for their attention that we feel is more valuable because we feel more valuable when we have that attention. And someone else's attention or lack of attention does not actually indicate your value. You indicate your value. You decide your own value. We are all inherently valuable as people. We are all priceless as people. But really, the value we hold is the value we believe we hold about ourselves. Matthew Hussey also went on to say that someone else's uncertainty should be an indicator of their lack of value to you, because one of the greatest things you can have in a partner is someone who is certain about you. And if you're in this relationship dynamic with someone who is not certain about you, that does not mean they are more valuable. They are not more valuable to you if they're uncertain about you. Something that is more valuable to you is a surety. And so be sure about yourself, create your own value within yourself, really choose how you want to feel and back up those feelings with choices and seek those things out within yourself. But someone else's lack of certainty, I invite you to make their lack of certainty for you to be more certain about yourself and to really cultivate that within yourself. So the first mistake is gripping on too hard. And the way to release that is put yourself back into the position of power within yourself and really decide how you want to feel, and then back up those desires with choices, actions, and intention. Now, the second mistake I see people make when they feel someone slipping away or feel someone moving away from them is to make it mean something is wrong about them, to make it mean that something is wrong with us. And it's one of the quickest things that we do as people is think, oh, I'm too much or I'm not enough. I'm too emotional. I'm too wacky. I'm too extravagant. I'm too much of a big personality, or I'm not enough. I'm not beautiful. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not interesting enough. And we start to make it mean all of these things. We make it mean that something's just wrong. We're not the right amount of dose of all of these other things. And that's not the case. That's not the case. Someone else's thoughts and opinions and decisions does not mean something about you. It only means something about you if you make it mean something about you. And so what are you making it mean? What are you making someone else pulling away from you mean about you? Mean about love? Mean about relationships? Mean about your future? Mean about your life? What are you making it mean? Now, the last mistake that I want to bring into the room today is that you feel like they're pulling away, but they aren't actually pulling away. Sometimes we can get really in our heads when it comes to relationships, and we can make someone not texting us back instantly mean they're pulling away, even though they aren't. And for people who have more of an anxious inclination when it comes to relationships, this can be really easy to do. This story building that someone is pulling away from us and that they're gonna leave us and that nothing's gonna ever work out in a relationship, from relatively small, minuscule things. And it's easy to fall down this rabbit hole. And really no judgment, because that has been me for the longest time, and sometimes it still pops up. It's a very human thing to fear, but sometimes we can make this story about someone pulling away from us when they aren't actually pulling away from us. They just went away for the weekend, or they're at work, or they had something else take up their attention, or they just have different priorities coming up in their life and they don't have as much time. And it doesn't mean that you're not a priority. It just means that life happens. And so sometimes we can make a story that someone is pulling away when they're not really pulling away, but us making that story can then lead to us behaving differently and can result in, different tensions or different conflicts, or just more drama than there actually needs to be.
So the solution to this would be to really objectively look at the situation and see if you're making a mountain out of a molehill. If you really don't trust your own perspective right now, that's when I would actually seek out the perspective of a third party and be really mindful about this third party. Don't just ask anybody. Ask, your coach or your therapist or someone who you really trust to have a grounded opinion, because there's so much BS advice out there when it comes to dating, when it comes to relationships, around like, oh, if he didn't message you, that definitely means he's not interested. And it's like, it doesn't mean that. People have lives, and it's okay for people to have lives. But really be mindful of the advice that you're seeking, and whether you're seeking advice to back up your own fears or if you're really truly seeking a grounded opinion. Because sometimes we seek advice wanting to hear more of what we already fear, and we don't really realize we're doing this, but it can happen. And so if you don't really trust your own perspective right now, go ahead and ask a third party that you do trust, preferably a professional, someone who is really, who knows about relationships, not just from Cosmopolitan, but really knows their stuff, or really has the relationship that you want for yourself, has that stable, fulfilling relationship that you want for yourself, and they've demonstrated that throughout the years. So if after all of this, you really do still feel like they're pulling away, like they are not giving you as much attention, like their interest has faded, all of those things, I will tell you what I would do in that situation. And I'm going to tell you this from like genuinely what I would do, not, just some like relationship coach perspective. While I am a relationship coach, obviously, I want to tell you what I would actually do. And what I would actually do is I would directly ask the question. And the way that I would phrase it is probably something along the lines of, hey, I get this feeling that you're pulling away from me, and I just wanted to check in if that's all in my head, or if there's something I'm missing. And I just wanted to put this out there so that I don't overthink it. And I would just be like, I would sit down and have that conversation. I would preferably not text it, but I would just sit down and I would say that and allow space and allow them to think about it and get back to me about where they're at and what they're thinking about, what's going on in their lives, and what they feel they want from the relationship. But don't leave your brain to come up with stories about how someone else feels. If you are genuinely concerned that someone is pulling away and that is bringing up fear within you, my invitation, both as a person and as a coach, is to ask the question directly. Not from a place of judgment, not from a place of gripping, but from a place of, hey, I kind of want to know what's going on here. And I totally respect if this is not the relationship for you, and if your interests have changed, and if you want to go in a different direction, but I can feel this and I just want to check in. All right, that's it for today. Just 3 mistakes I see people make. If this really resonated with you, if you want to hear some more, pitfalls I see people fall into when people are moving away, or you think people are moving away in relationships, let me know in the comment review section. And if this episode really served you, definitely please leave a positive review. Give me that 5-star review. And that just helps this podcast be found by more people who could benefit from what we're talking about here. So I have a lot of gratitude. I do not take your 5 stars for granted. If you left a review, I do not take it for granted. I'm so deeply appreciative of you taking the time to do that. So thank you for doing that. If you have already done it, if you haven't and you feel called to, I would be very, very grateful. But even if you just listened to this episode and you got something from it, I'm glad you're here. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.
So make whatever change you need to make.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If something resonated with you in today's episode, if you could leave a review, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps other people learn what we're all about here at Shift Your Story, and it helps this podcast reach listeners who may need to hear what it is that we have to say. If you would like to connect with me or work with me, you can visit my website at www.shiftyourstory.net. You can also find all of my socials on there so you can connect with me in the way that works best for you. I'll see you next time.